melting shop. Originally was open hearth furnaces, and then they changed that over to electric arc furnaces, modernising it. But as far as I'm concerned, it should still be here. There's money to be made in steel, and the only reason we haven't got a steel industry is greed. Somebody thought they could get it done cheaper in another country, when we were probably making enough money as it was, and it could be shared better. But I do believe that there was an agreement between the Germans and us. They keep the industry and we'd have banking, which is fine if you're living in London, the south east, but wasn't good for us in the North Midlands. Now I'm coming up to the training centre. I'm not going to go down here but what I'm going to try and show you is the building, where you can see that building there, another outbuilding. There was a training centre. It's on Dead Man's Hole Lane. I'm going to go up to the end of Dead Man's Hole Lane. So this is Dead Man's Hole Lane, now it's called Trefoil Steel. I can zoom right in down there. Doesn't look up too much now. There were no green, nothing, not all this debris down here when we were there. You can imagine the training centre. I reckon it was an old machine shop from the past, which has changed into a training centre. So you'd have welders in there, electricians, technicians, and they used to also have, I've seen trainee girls in there, probably typists from time to time. We had a number of conference rooms, and one of the most interesting things was we used to watch the old films from the 50s and 60s. They got all those on reel, and I did contact the archives of British Steel to see if they still existed, but I think they probably got destroyed. But it used to be quite interesting on certain afternoons when that's all we'd do, watch these old archive films showing how the steel industry developed. So I'll just show you down here. So I'm pretty certain this was a black building in the past, and that was part of British Steel Rotherham as well. And I'm going to cross over onto the other side of the road and take you down the other side. But if you go up there, that'll take you into Sheffield. There are still a few of the older buildings left, but as you get down there, I think there's a new link road into Rotherham, and they're all modern units on there. So this was the extent of British Steel Rotherham up to this point here on one side, and I'm going to go down the other side and show you what it was like on the other side. But it's quite busy on here at the moment, so just give me a while to cross over. Yeah, I can still see an old name there, Cooper and Turner, and that was around when I was at British Steel. So for anybody who trained at Dead Man's Hole Lane, that might bring back memories. Because I don't want to go down there in present climate. I could actually go down and play dumb, but the way the police are at the moment, I'm not giving them any opportunity. There's still an awful lot of lorries around here. fact, I never saw this many lorries when it was British Steel. But this is probably importing goods from abroad, storing them here, and then getting them back out again. But I thought it was a perfect afternoon to come out and film. Between 3 and 5 it said it was going to be blue skies. Well, it's pretty blue skies now. The rest of the week I think it's going to be raining and snowing again, so I have to pick my days to come out. But I've been thinking about doing this for the last 2 or 3 months now. Just been waiting for the right opportunity. Now, I did take photographs of down here in the past, but I don't think the photographs do justice to the area, just the extent of the steelworks. Like I said, this was only half of British Steel Rotherham. This was the Templeborough side. And that was my preferred side of working. Across at the old work side, you got the old work. You got Thriver bar mill, which was a completely modern bar mill. You'd also got Roundwood, and I'm not 100% sure if Roundwood's running or not. And I finished at Roundwood, and I really didn't like Roundwood at all. I'd love to have seen the old Parkgate steelworks with the open hearth and furnaces. But this melting shop, you were melting scrap steel. Now the blast furnaces, which I think they had blast furnaces across at Parkgate, that actually changes iron ore into steel. But I think we had an awful lot of scrap that they had to remelt. So as far as I know, we'd be getting our steel from, say, Scunthorpe. So they had the blast furnaces across there. I think they still do. So they'll melt. I think you need a lot of water. So they melt the iron ore down into steel. And over here we were actually melting scrap steel back into usable steel again. Now, just here was the bus turning circle, which isn't a bus turning circle anymore. And people who worked here prior to that, they probably know a lot more about it than me. But we are just about on the border between Sheffield and Rotherham. I think it's about here. In fact, it is. Just show you the border. No, it isn't the border, but it's about here. Border between Sheffield and Rotherham. So my training centre was actually in Sheffield, not actually in Rotherham, thankfully. So there was a bus turning circle. But it's not a bus turning circle anymore, but it just shows you how many buses used to come down here when they needed a bus turning circle. Now just here was the canteen, locker rooms, and I think showers and everything for the electric melting shop. And I did once come down here to have a meal at lunchtime when I was in the training centre. and oh, it was greasy spoons, it was awful. So we were spoilt a bit in the training centre, but they weren't proper meals. We had a breakfast and a lunch, but we'd bring us own sandwiches and have a breakfast sandwich and things like that, and a cup of coffee. And it would have been a really cheap price. Like I said, this was the Bass locker rooms for the electric melting shop. It's now says Brinsworth Training Centre. But the main thing across here was Brinsworth strip mills, and I'm shocked Brinsworth strip mill's still going, because it were awful, greasy. Even back in the 80s. That just shows you decision making, doesn't it? But that's turning, as far as I remember, ingots down into strip metal. It was grim inside there, oily. I'm sure there were plenty of asbestos around. And there were times when we had to clean stuff down, and we'd have baths of tetrachlorine, I think it was called, and it sent you high. It'd be totally illegal nowadays. But I don't think you ever saw any light through those windows. But I'm only skirting across the top of the history of this place. So there's the Bass locker rooms and everything. Brinsworth strip mill. And one of the hazards with strip mills and bar mills, etc., are cobbles, where the actual material comes out of the rollers and goes all over the place. And the guys have to pull that out with hooks when it's cobbled. But time is money now, so whether they've managed to reduce that to an absolute bare minimum. But I'm sure wastage wasn't such a big concern in the 80s when it was a public utility. But around about this area was the laboratories, a really tall building. And if you imagine the science block at school, it was just like going in your science block at school. And what they used to do is, they used to have like a system where you could put it in tubes. I'll start again because I couldn't hear myself speaking for that. Yeah, we had something like a big laboratory around here. This was all car parks and around here, and then there was this big laboratory, like a big tall office building, like your science block at school, and they used to do all the testing there and development as well, and they used to send samples through tubes from the arc shop across there, from Spear, into the laboratory, and they could then do testing of those samples. So it was just like a pipes that went under the road. They stick a box in with a sample inside and then shoot it through with air. Now when I remember rightly, I'm sure that this was Templeborough Steel Mills, the private company. What I'm going to do in a moment is I'm going to go across the road, because there used to be a road up here. So just imagine all down here was big black steel sheds, is where the art shop was. But I want to show you this little side road, because behind here we can actually see something. But this road here used to take you up to Brinsworth. I don't know why they closed it down. Yeah, it was bit of a problem on the bridge because it was one way, but it was a nice little shortcut down here from Brinsworth. You can walk up here, but like I said, it was two-way with cars here, and then you got a little bit of a bridge which we're going to come to in a bit, and then it was two-way again. And what this did is took you up to Brinsworth, and there's also what was known as the Phoenix Golf Course, which was part of British Steel Rotherham, and they used to have the Phoenix social rooms, which were really nice with football pitches and a bar, etc. I just want to show you around the back of the strip mill. So this was closed in August 2007. Ran round the back of Brinsworth Strip Mill, and my honest thing is I don't think it's operating anymore, because there'd have been strip everywhere, big rolls of strip, and it looks dead to me. This don't look like an operational steel plant. So even though it looks open from the front, looks dead at the back. If you carry on up there, you go up to Phoenix Golf Course. You find a big crucible outside there. There's no noise coming from there, so my opinion is, if anybody can tell me, is Brinsworth Strip Mill dead or alive? Like I said, there's one way over this bridge, but either end used to be two-way, and that used to be my shortcut up to the bus to go home. There used to be I think it was 208 or 218 Wiggy's bus. That was a private bus company running from Dinnington into Rotherham. I lived in Anston in those days, but used to get me home pretty quickly. It was quite a run from the training centre right up here, because I had to get from the training centre to here and then about another mile. In those days I was marathon running, but I had my steel toe cap boots on every day. Would leave us overalls in the locker at work, and then with keeper's boots on. Got to get across the road again. Now this wasn't British Steel, Rotherham just here, but it's probably another rolling mill or something like this. It's just a stockist now. I'm sure it would be a working steelworks in those days, whether it was part of Templeborough rolling mill, I can't remember. It's a stockist now, so it's like anything. I don't think we produce that much steel anymore. They tell us we produce more steel in Sheffield than we did in the past. I think that's a load of rubbish. When I see the steelworks that's gone, we might produce far more per man, but we don't produce more steel than we produced in the 50s, 60s, 70s and 80s in Sheffield. Brinsworth strip mill that we've just come past, even though it was Brinsworth strip mill, it was still part of British Steel Rotherham. But at the time there were 6 of us in my year for process control, and 2 of us took the opportunity to go into Midland Bank. One of the lads was getting that much money at the time on shifts. He turned down the job at Midland Bank, and years later when I saw him, I think he regretted it, because I think it starts to tell on people to earn that amount of money. You've got to work them hours, whereas we didn't need to work those hours to earn that amount of money. Now this area was a slag area. Now I don't know if it belonged to British Steel or not, but I'm pretty certain that what would have happened is the byproduct of the electric arc furnaces would be slag, and that would have been turned into asphalt or whatever. It's still happening, whether, like I said, whether it was a part of British Steel or not, I don't know, but I'm sure all our waste byproduct came here. It doesn't half look like they're going through it here. As you can see on it, you can see the molten metal on that picture, and that's been turned into your asphalt. But this was a ramp area around here, sort of employing 9,000 people. We're coming down to Central Workshops in a moment, which I want to show you, but they've all gone as well. But anybody who worked there. I'm in a public place, it doesn't really matter. I'm in a public place, I'm videoing the steelworks and everything.
I don't want to be on it.
But it's a public area.
You're encroaching my space.
So we're coming down now to Central Workshops. I don't know what that guy's on about because it's a public space. So we're coming down Tickle's workshop, and all the workshops used to happen around here, but the other thing was we had Phoenix rooms down here, and there was what they call the Phoenix 500 room, and they had big functions, all the AGM meetings for large companies went on in here. And with me being a member of staff, gave me a few perks. I could go and have a lunch in the Phoenix room at lunchtime, but I never actually went in the Phoenix 500 room. That was different. So that's Eccles Way. And up there took me up to the workshops, etc. But that's something totally different. It said Symphony now, but it's all modern workshops up there now. All the old central workshops have gone now. That was the route up to it. And what I can't understand is the Phoenix rooms were the place to go. Why wasn't it actually sold off as a private concern, and they'd have made quite a bit of money from it? They could have been running the AGMs and various functions there for all the large businesses in Sheffield. I think Sheffield Wednesday used it at the time, and basically it was just trashed, and that's why I'm saying I was all for privatisation of the steel industry, but I don't think they did the best for it. I think we've probably got to the end of British Steel now, because that was the workshops. See it all up there. And then I think just round here, I think that was the end of British Steel, Rotherham. But I don't know why that guy was going off back there. I'm in a public place. I can film what I like and what I can see from a public place. I'm gonna guess he didn't want to be on for other reasons. Probably people are getting a bit paranoid with all the stuff going off at the moment, with what I call this, to me it's an illegal lockdown. Nobody should be having to mandatory wear masks, because it's going to come out in a court, a German lawyer will prove in court the PCR test is fraudulent, and they've locked us down. Illegally. PCR test is being run at 45 cycles, not the 25 cycles. It's not solely checking for COVID-19, it's just checking for something that they found on everybody's lungs in Wuhan, and that may or may not be COVID. But like I said, we're at end of British Steel now, and I'm going to walk back down to Fullerton Road. So I hope you enjoyed the journey around British Steel, Rotherham. You can just see the extent of the old company and what's happened to it now. So I'll speak to you again in a while. Bye.